Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhakta Sevaya Bhagavati Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 22, Enumeration of the Elements of Material Creation. Text number 50 onwards. Taror bija vipakabhyam yog vidvan janma samyamo taror vilakshano drishta evam drishta tanokrit. One who observes the birth of a tree from its seed and the ultimate death of the tree after maturity certainly remains a distinct observer, separate from the tree. In the same way, the witness of the birth and death of material body remains separate from it. As a reference to trees, Vipaka indicates the final transformation called death. In reference to other types of plants such as rice, Vipaka indicates a stage of maturity in which death also occurs. Thus, by common observation, one can understand the actual position of one's material body and one's own position as a transcendental observer. So we have witnessed so many births and deaths in our lives of relatives and friends and other circle colleagues. So we just got to learn how to remain separate from it. We are not this body. Prakriter evam atmanam avivichya buddha puman tatvena sparsha samudaha sansaram pratipadyate. An unintelligent man, failing to distinguish himself from material nature, thinks nature to be real. By contact with it, he becomes completely bewildered and enters into the cycle of material existence. A similar verse is found in Srimad Bhagavatam Yaya Samohitoti. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. So by contact with the nature, he becomes completely bewildered. This is our situation and enters into the cycle of material existence. And when we start thinking or when we start identifying with the body. Sattva sangha drishtim devam rajasa sur manusha tamasa bhutir yaktvam bhramito yati karmabhi. Made to wander because of his fruitive work, the conditioned soul, by contact with the mode of goodness, takes birth among the sages of demigods. By contact with the mode of passion, he becomes a demon or human being, and by association with the mode of ignorance, he takes birth as a ghost or in the animal kingdom. The word Tiryaktvam means the status of an animal, which includes all lower forms of life, such as beasts, birds, insects, fish, and plants. And the thing is, the contact with the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, it's not permanent. It keeps on changing, and we keep on going up or down, up or down. Nrityate gayata pashyan yathevanu karoti tan evam buddhi gunan pashyan aniho api anukaryate. Just as one may imitate persons whom one sees dancing and singing, similarly, the soul, although never the doer of material activities, becomes captivated by material intelligence and is thus forced to imitate its qualities. Sometimes people are captivated by professional singers and dancers and imitate within their minds the musical rhythms and melodies of the performers, along with their romantic, humorous, or heroic emotions. People sing songs heard on the radio and imitate dances and dramatic performances seen on television or in movies and theaters, entering into the emotions and art of the performer. The conditioned soul is similarly captivated by the concoctions of the material mind and intelligence, which convince him that he can become the enjoyer of the material world. This is how mind plays a game. Concoctions of the material mind and intelligence, which convince him that he can become the enjoyer of the material, although different from the material body and never the actual performer of its activities. The conditioned soul is induced to engage his body in material activities, which entangle him in the cycle of birth and death. One should not accept the illicit propositions of material intelligence, but rather should engage himself fully in the service of Lord and Krishna consciousness. See, our mind, how it plays the games, it's really crazy. And in the days when we are trying to perform our sadhana properly, with the Vedi sadhana bhakti, following the rules and regulations, there are so many tons and tons of desires in our heart, in our mind, from so many lifetimes. And because the heart is getting cleansed, and it depends how fast and how much cleansing is going on, more and more such material desires come in front of us, and they'll disturb us while we are chanting, while we are doing other services. But this is just the game of the mind. As it is said here, the concoctions of material mind and intelligence, and they try to convince us, oh, you can enjoy, you can be the controller, you can be the enjoyer of this material world or the material nature, and this and that. Not according to scriptures. We are not the enjoyers. We cannot enjoy. But the material mind plays games and after games after games. So all we got to do is just take shelter of Lord's lotus feet, hold on to Lord's lotus feet, Radharani's lotus feet, and beg them, please remove this Maya from my heart. Please remove these onslaughts of Maya. And they can do it. Yathamvasa prachalata taravo atarvo api chala eva chakshusha brahmyamane drishyate brahmati vapu. Yatha manorathadhi vishyanu mrisha swapna drishtascha dasharha tatha sansara atmana. The soul's material life, his experience of sense gratification is actually false, or descendant of Dashara. Just like trees appearance of quivering when the trees are reflected in agitated water, or like the earth's appearance of spinning due to one's spinning his eyes around, or like the world of a fantasy or dream. So this experience of sense gratification is actually false. The thing that all our life we are running after, and it's false. Trees appear to be swaying when reflected in agitated water. And similarly, when one is sitting on a moving boat, the trees on the shore appear to be moving. When the wind whips up the water, creating waves, the water appears to have movement of its own, although it is actually being moved by the wind. The conditioned soul in material life does not perform any activities, but rather the material body, with the consent of the illusioned living entity, is being moved by the modes of nature. One imposes this external movement upon oneself, considering oneself to be dancing, singing, running, dying, conquering, and so on. Although these are merely interactions of the external body with the modes of nature. And it looks so real, but nothing is real. It's all false. Arthe hi avidya mane api samsritir nivartate dhyayato vishayanasya swapne anartha gamo yatha. For one who is meditating on sense gratification, material life, although lacking factual existence, does not go away, just as the unpleasant experiences of a dream do not go away. So for one who is meditating, and 99% people are, or the whole 99.99% of the creation is meditating on sense gratification. That's it. One may object that if Lord Krishna insists that material life is false, then why should one endeavor to stop it? The Lord Div explains here that although not factual, material life stubbornly continues for one addicted to sense gratification, just as a frightening dream continues for one immersed in sleep. The word avidyamana, not existing, means that material life is based on mental concoction, in which one thinks, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a doctor, I'm a senator, I'm a street sweeper, and so on. A conditioned soul enthusiastically performs his activities based on the imaginary identification with the body. Thus, although the spirit soul exists and the body exists, the false identification with the body does not exist. Material life based on a false idea has no factual existence. So that's why it's called false ego. I am this and I am that. It's all false. Real ego, real identity is I am servant of Krishna. After one awakens from a dream, the dim reflection of the dream may linger in one's memory. Similarly, one engaging in the devotional service of the Lord may be troubled sometimes by the dim reflection of sinful life. One should therefore become strong in Krishna consciousness, hearing the Lord's instruction to Shri Uddhav. So similarly, one engaging in devotional service of the Lord may be troubled sometimes by the dim reflection of sinful life. So those sanskaras are there, but we have to create a stronger sanskara of bhakti, stronger sanskara, chanting, service, reading, and hearing, and this and that, so that mind just doesn't go towards sense gratification. Or if it goes, we nip it at the bud. No, not even going to think about it. Tasmad Uddhav ma bhunksha veshyan sad indriya atma grina nirvatam pashya vaikalpikam brahmam. Therefore, O Uddhav, do not try to enjoy sense gratification with the material senses. See how illusion based on material dualities prevents one from realizing the self. So everything that exists is the property of the Supreme Lord, meant to be used in his loving service. Seeing material objects as separate from the Lord and thus meant to be possessed and enjoyed by oneself is called Vaikalpikam Brahmam, the illusion of material duality. When selecting one's personal object of enjoyment, such as food, clothing, residence, or vehicle, one considers the relative quality of the object to be acquired. Consequently, in material life, one is in constant anxiety, trying to acquire the most excellent sense gratification for one's personal pleasure. If one realizes everything as a property of the Lord, however, he will see everything as meant for the Lord's pleasure. He will feel no personal anxiety because he is satisfied simply to be engaged in the Lord's loving service. It's not possible to exploit the property of the Lord and at the same time advance in self-realization. So duality means when we see everything, this is for me, this is for the Lord. No, everything is for the Lord. And we got to use everything in service of the Lord. That's devotional service. And that is when even the material things, they become spiritual. Then there is no Maya, it's all Yoga Maya. Because everything is connected with the Lord and we are trying to connect everything with the Lord. In the process, we become connected with the Lord. Kshipto avamanito asadhi pralabdo asuyito athava tadita sanniruddho va britya va parihapita nishtayuto mutrito vagya bahudhevam prakampita shreyas kama krichragat atmanatmam uddhare. Even though neglected, insulted, ridiculed, or envied by bad men, or even though repeatedly agitated by being beaten, tied up, or deprived of one's occupation, spat upon, or polluted with urine by ignorant people. One who desires the highest goal in life should, in spite of all these difficulties, use his intelligence to keep himself safe on the spiritual platform. Wow, heavy. Because the next chapter, the story of Avanti Brahman, is connected with this only. Throughout history, many of the above mentioned inconveniences have been experienced by devotees of the Lord. One who is advanced in God consciousness does not allow himself to become obsessed with material body, even in such conditions, but rather keeps the mind fixed on the spiritual platform through proper intelligence. And that proper intelligence is Krishna consciousness, the spiritualized intelligence. Shri Uddhav Uvacha Yathevam Anubuddhyayam Vadano Vadatam Vara. Shri Uddhav said, O best of speakers, please explain to me how I may properly understand this. Sudusham imam manya atmanya asad atikramam vidusham api vishvatman prakriti baliyasi rite tvad dharma niratan shantaste charnalayan. O soul of the universe, the conditioning of one's personality in material life is very strong. And therefore it is very difficult for one even for learned men, to tolerate the offenses committed against them by ignorant people. Only your devotees who are fixed in your loving service and who have achieved peace by residing at your lotus feet are able to tolerate such offenses. So unless one becomes advanced in the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, theoretical learning cannot make one actually saintly. One's conditioned personality, the result of long material association, is very difficult to overcome. Therefore, we should humbly take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who has so wonderfully explained to Shri Uddhav the real meaning of knowledge. So, basically, Krishna in this shloka 58, 59, he's saying this is going to happen. It's not like, oh, if it happens, you should tolerate. It is going to happen to whatever degree. It will happen with everybody who wants to make progress spiritually. And toleration, tolerate. Next chapter, Avanti Brahman, we'll read how he went through all this. And the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's full of such examples. How devotees were insulted, ridiculed, beaten up. Haridas Thakur, who was Brahmaji himself. Nityanand Prabhu was beaten up. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was insulted. But they showed how one should remain steady. Sometimes devotees say, oh, they were the Lord themselves. What was so difficult for them? It was not difficult for them to be controlled. But they showed by their example the worst thing, or it could be even worse than that, but they tolerated in the worst thing. We might not go through that bad a situation, might have little bit of situation, but we got to tolerate. Tolerate in the sense, understanding whatever Krishna has arranged, it's the best for me because he is my Lord. He is my worshipable Lord. Whatever Radharani has arranged for me, it's the best thing for me. They will not arrange, they will not have anything happen to their devotees what is not best for them. Every devotee is different. So every devotee goes through different situation. But that's the best thing for them. That faith has to be there. And with that faith, we carry on with our devotional service. We carry on with our practices, with our sadhana. And this is for sure after a certain time, when we look back, then we would be able to connect the dots. How Krishna saved me there and how Krishna helped me at that time. We would be able to connect the dots. Going through the situation, because at that time, the mind is disturbed and everything is disturbed, we might not be able to see because we are not that advanced. But looking back, we can connect the dots. But got to have full faith in Krishna. We are trying to serve him. We're trying to serve Radharani. How can anything bad happen to a devotee? No way. Others might think, oh, so and so bad thing happened. And no, it's nothing out of their control. That's all. So they know they know what is happening and how they have to protect and how they have to make sure the devotee becomes more strong, develops more faith. And if for any reason we don't develop faith or we get so disturbed, Krishna will make sure devotee association is there for that devotee and tries to bring him back. He definitely will do that. So that faith has to be there. And this definitely is going to happen with the devotees. So Krishna himself is saying. So anyway, we'll stop here, and thus ends actually the purport to this 22nd chapter. Tomorrow we'll start the 23rd chapter, the Song of the Avanti Brahman. Very, very important chapter, and how he was ridiculed and so many things he had to go through. Okay, so we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot. थोड़ी तसल्ली मिलती है कथा सुन के.
Thank you, Mata.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you, Mata. So you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna. Jai
Prabhuji.
Shri Prabhupada.